And you told me it was okay.
Right. I did. The office technically troubleshooting again. This was just
That's
tested.
all right.
I'm surprised I have to do this.
Hey, how are you tonight?
Hi, Rosemary.
Apparently, I had 4 pieces of paper tonight, so I had to bring in my briefcase.
Did you see the most recent pieces of paper I emailed to you?
No,
That's okay. I'll give you my copy.
no, I saw it. That was my
That's some quick response.
that was my second printing.
Awesome.
It was the one that decided that we're taking a field trip to Frosty Boy for the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Oh, you get stuck right up in front.
Here we go.
I don't remember what I was looking for. I'm more so worried my phone's gonna go off. I found out in a meeting about 3 weeks ago, I can turn my ringer off, but since our office is set up with Wi-Fi calling, that it doesn't shut the Wi-Fi ringer off because that goes right through the regular sound. So you'll be in the middle of a meeting and have this thing going, I'm like, why is my phone ringing? I know it is off. But that had to go off in a court hearing and had it go off in here a couple weeks ago.
Meeting today in the car. And I thought I'd get here beforehand and I didn't, so I had to pull off the Starbucks and put a virtual background on, sit in my car.
I did one from a parking lot after dropping the kids off. It was with the judge. And so I tried to put the tablet up and I couldn't get it to sit on the steering wheel. So the whole time they knew I was in the car because I warned them. And so the judge was like, so, all right, mister. And then the screen would go like this.
Oh, jeez.
And then she started laughing. And then I dropped it again and she starts laughing. And she goes, are you going to do the testimony real
Yeah,
quick?
yep.
And I said, yep. So I'm like trying to hold it while I'm doing questions on the record. And the judge was dying laughing.
So I'm going to bring you in. Yep, thanks.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
Hello.
Brian.
Hello.
You're over here tonight.
I see that.
How you doing, Brian?
Good. And you?
Pretty well.
Good. Jeff had to go grab his mail.
From the police department.
Yeah.
Member moved recently, and then Treasurer Bud is out, and Commissioner.
Should have spread us out over the table so it makes us look much like
Concentrated energy. It's up to
everybody
you.
here. So we're
Totally up to you.
spread out that way so it looks like a much bigger force this evening. Should get Dan's update
Today?
there.
What's happening?
Did you get Dan's email? With the update at about 4:30.
No, I didn't get
That's
that
what
at
it is.
4:30.
It's this section here.
Oh,
I'll get- I'll-
presentation by the applicant.
This is the original one. This is the update.
Yeah, there's only one. I did not print out the template, I'll call it.
Okay.
This is just some information. Oh, you're good. I'll give you a
Oh,
clean
is this
one.
the only
This is information on
difference?
trainings coming
So
up.
we still, this
Oh,
is still.
good.
Yep, still gonna be the same.
One,
He's
two,
adding-
three.
A lot of it virtual?
A lot of
Okay.
them are still
So
virtual.
what he did was he's adding in what
Trainings
the
coming.
topics were gonna be. This was one of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
So they're gonna go through, give a presentation, and then see where we're at, but.
This is item 1.
And then this is where,
Oh, yeah, I signed up for those.
Okay, we're gonna table the
potentially, depending on how things go, but
public hearing.
we'll do the public hearing, then we're gonna go into these items, which they're gonna do a presentations, and then questions from us. But there's a lot of outstanding items.
Hello. Oh,
I'm really concerned about this,
it's June, isn't it?
because they're bringing in
Haven't
small
done my training yet.
units. Units, that's,
So we have to ask a lot of those things.
and why? I mean, we had the original agreement.
So we got a bunch we can ask tonight. So that was the update on. Hello.
In action, okay.
I'm gonna take this and we can do two little brief summaries for our updates.
That was under new business, right?
Yeah, number 2, I believe, number 1 and number 2.
Is video?
Right there.
She's remote tonight.
Oh,
She's not feeling well, so she wanted to make sure everybody was.
You all set?
Yeah.
Other minutes, you all set? Need another minute?
I think I'm all right, thanks, go for it.
Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. Call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Brian Cullen.
Here.
Medina Atchison is excused. Callie Barr.
Here.
Sherry Budd is excused. Jeff Jar.
Here.
Brian Kelly.
Here. We have an agenda before us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barr, support by Commissioner Jar. Any comments or discussion regarding the motion? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the agenda is approved. Second item is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of May 25th, 2022. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 25th, 2022.
Okay, support?
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Cullen and support by Commissioner Barr. Any discussions or comments regarding the minutes? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. Our first item up tonight is a public hearing for Cobblestone Creek Phase for revision. So, do you have anything you'd like to add to this agenda item, or would you like to open the meeting, Director Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thanks for introducing that case tonight. I just want to summarize kind of the summary of what's being requested, and then we'll go into this first section, which is a public hearing, and that's the opportunity for members of the public to speak and be heard by the Planning Commission, and then the public hearing would be closed, and then we'll go into two aspects of the review of what's being proposed in a later part of the meeting under new business, in a separate part of the meeting after we hear from the members of the public. So just to summarize what the request is, I'll summarize the project, but the applicant Infinity Acquisitions LLC, on behalf of the owner at the time of application, CA Kime Incorporated, has requested preliminary approval to amend a phase of a attached condominium housing unit project within the 117.06 acre Cobblestone Creek planned residential development. And that section of the project is titled Cobblestone Creek Villas. Cobblestone Creek Villas is currently approved to include 104 attached housing units in 26 buildings. And the proposed PRD as amended would include 96 units in 25 buildings. As part of this review, a public hearing for the request is required, as it's required as consistent with being reviewed as a special land use. And so the request is to be reviewed as a special land use per sections 6.221A, 6.119, and Article 12, Chapter 6 of the Van Buren Township zoning ordinance. The site is zoned R1A, Single Family Residential District. It's located on the south side of Huron River Drive, east of Hoft Road. And this request includes 6.88 acres to be split off as a condominium within the overall Cobblestone Creek project between Chinkapin Drive and Pinewood Lane, between the ends of those streets. So that's what the request is for tonight. I understand the applicant has engaged some of the adjoining condominium owners, but we do invite anybody who's here to speak during the public hearing. So that's the next step on the agenda.
Thank you so much, Director Power. So have a motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move to open the public hearing for item 1.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Jar, support by Commissioner Cullen. All in favor to open the public hearing, say aye. Aye. And our public hearing is now open. So anybody has anything they'd like to say regarding the public hearing for the Cobblestone Creek phase revision, if you'd please step up to the podium. Make sure you speak into the mic directly, otherwise you won't get caught over the speaker system. And if you could identify your name and address, that would be great.
And through the chair,
Yes.
I might just mention, this is the applicant, Mr. Reno Suave. So what we might do, you're welcome to make comment now. I might suggest that we'll have you come back up for the presentation by the applicant in a different part of the meeting. So
Sure,
this will
I
be
can,
just for members of the public.
Sure, that's
So-
fine. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much. So, do you have any other individuals who'd like to speak regarding the public hearing?
Hello, my name is Steve Walsh. I live at 13620 Pinewood Lane in Belleville, Michigan, 48111. Little nervous, so apologize for that. Reno, the gentleman that just came up here, did come over to us and solicited our support for this. Myself, I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer. We also have Lou here, Lou Bobian. He's the president, representing the board, and we do support this. We'd like to see the land developed. And we did go around and canvass all the other owners and obtained 2/3 of the required people to make sure that they all support it as well. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to speak to this agenda item for the public hearing? Director Power, do we have anybody that's attending by Zoom this evening?
We do have two people in our attendee list who are not raising their hands at this time. We also have our planning consultant who's here to speak during the new business portions of the request. So that's there's no additional public comments received on the Zoom.
Thank you, Director Power. Seeing as there's no additional comments from the public on this item, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
We have a motion to close the public hearing by Commissioner Barr, support by Commissioner Cullen. All those in favor to close the public hearing say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the public hearing is closed. We are up to new business agenda item number 1, Cobblestone Creek Phase Villas Revision, Special Land Use Review. And I believe we have a presentation by you, Director Power.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just have some graphics available during this part of the discussion by getting on the screen before you, if you just bear with me. And what I would like to do is just mention that we have the applicant, Mr. Suave from Infinity Acquisitions. We have our planning consultant on the call. There is a summary of the request that I just provided in the public hearing. And as parts of that request, there is an action that will eventually be required by the Planning Commission on a special land use review, as well as a preliminary plan review. At this time, there has been a series of comments made in reports to the Planning Commission and submittals provided by the applicant, including plans and an application. And it is our understanding as staff that there are some significant comments still to be addressed in terms of understanding some of the terms and amendments to the original Planned Residential Development Agreement, which is currently under staff review, limits on the ability to create the new phase of development prior to the completion of public improvements on the previous phase. There's some questions about bonding, review that's needed on the eligibility for the new phase to use the overarching PRD agreement, and some clarity on the requested modifications that I know we're seeking. So this plan is very much in progress, and you heard some support from the existing adjacent residents and the adjacent board. But there will be some other items that we understand need to be addressed. So I think we, staff understand and the applicant understands that we'll be coming back at a later meeting before there's action on the special land use and preliminary site plan request. But that being said, I would like to invite first our planning consultant, Vidya Krishnan, who will speak on the special land use aspect of the request. And then following Vidya's discussion of that aspect of the request, we'll have the applicant come up and describe the project in more detail. And then we'll go over again a brief summary of the site plan aspect of the request. And the Planning Commission can take that background and use this as a forum to ask additional questions or take action if you desire. So with that being said, Ms. Krishnan, if you can just provide an overarching summary of your special land use report, then we'll work off of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Powell. Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. My apologies for not being there in person. I am recovering from a viral infection, and I'm still not. Can you hear me?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Much better?
Pardon me through the chair. Director Powers, is there any way to put her on the screen?
Yeah, we could do that actually, and I'm in the middle of two screens, so I'll toggle.
Okay, can.
Okay, Vidya. Oh,
Uh-oh.
Christian, if you could pause, we do have an issue with, I think, audio on the, if it projects there, it may have an audio issue with the TV. So we may need to pull that back off the screen, if that's okay with the Planning Commission.
As long as I can hear what is being said, I'm all right. I was mostly thinking about for the benefit of the attendees of the meeting who can't see that laptop screen right now.
Let me try one other fix, and then we'll, if all else fails, we'll go back to just trying to make the best of the view that we have here with the computer screen. So just 1 second. I'm not sure if this is going to do anything. Vidya, if you could try again. No, we're not getting anything. Okay. Well, I apologize. We will show this to everybody as best we can, but we'll take this off the screen so we can be heard well at least. All right, Vidya, if you could try again.
Yes, can you hear me?
One more time?
Can you hear me now?
I'm good.
I believe so.
Can the members of the audience hear Ms. Christian? Okay, thank you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, my apologies to the Planning Commission and the members of the audience for not being there in person. I am recovering from a viral infection and I'm still within the infectious period, and I don't want anybody else to experience the joys I have over the past few days. So that's why I am remote tonight. The applicant, Infinity Homes, is seeking to amend an existing PRD agreement for Cobblestone Creek condominiums, as Director Power mentioned. The original condominium project was approved in 2004 for a total of 258 units. Now the site is pretty large. It's around 117 acres and is zoned R1A, which is single family residential on the south side of Huron River Drive, east of Hoft Road. Now the condominium was never completed because in 2008 we had a recession and most of the homes were built. A good section of it, which was in phase 2, was never built. At this time, Mr. Suave has come in with an attempt to try and finish up the incomplete phase of Cobblestone Creek Villas, and as such, he needs to amend the original PRD, which was approved under an older section of the ordinance. Our zoning ordinance says that when a PRD is amended, it must be amended and followed in the same process as a special land use. I'll summarize those criteria in brief. So the original project in 2008 had 26 buildings approved, out of which only 12 were constructed and 14 were never constructed. The street network was laid out, the sidewalk network, the landscaping, and the site design elements for this portion, phase 2, remained incomplete. The streets were laid out, but the sidewalks and all were not built. The proposed amended PRD at this time attempts to complete the project by changing it marginally by constructing 52 units within 13 additional buildings. Rather than 14 buildings, it's going to be now 13 buildings, but it'll have 52 units. And we believe it will promote the use of land in an economically desirable manner because the value of homes around the area will improve when an incomplete residential development is being completed. This development is on the south side of the township and it is not too far away from our Belleville Road major commercial corridor. So we believe it is conveniently suited. The proposal that is presented by the applicant at this time is not injurious to public health, safety, welfare. No trees are going to be removed as part of the proposal because the site was already clear cut and graded at the time this original proposal was approved. We believe the design, the way it is being set, will not create any additional imposition on the township's ability to provide public facilities, water and sanitary sewer, subject to engineering review and approval. Now, the way the PRD approval process will work is it is a two-step process, unlike a special land use where it goes only one time before the Board of Trustees. In this case, the Planning Commission would make a recommendation on a preliminary PRD plan approval. That will go before the Board of Trustees for the preliminary PRD approval. The applicant will finish doing all the engineering and other details, fine-tuning it. It will come back before the Planning Commission for final PRD approval and go back to the Board of Trustees for final PRD approval. So it has got 4 times at which it will appear before different boards and commissions in this approval process. At this time, the general standards for a special land use or a PRD amendment have been met. However, as Director Power summarized, the Planning Commission has got some questions, and there are still a lot of site plan related details, such as the master deed and bylaws, and maybe some additions that need to be made before the Planning Commission reaches the comfort level in order to send this on to Board of Trustees for the preliminary plan approval. So tonight, this project is on your agenda for you to conduct the public hearing, and I'm glad to hear the existing residents of the development are out in support of it, because completion of this project is definitely going to enhance the value of their homes too, once the site improvements are completed. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Krishnan. I believe the applicant had some comments that you'd like to make regarding the project.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Reno Suave with Infinity Homes and Company. Basically, great job by Vidya and Dan both just kind of setting up the project, but I wanted just to kind of, introduce myself. We've been probably before you, it's probably been a few years now. This is our 3rd development now in Van Buren Township in the last 5 years. So we're excited to get started on the new one. We actually, and I'm not sure if I misunderstood Dan, we actually do own the project. I think he said that, I'm not sure what you mentioned about Keim. Keim is not the owner. We purchased it from Keim. I think that they were the original developer, but we purchased it from them about 6 months ago, just last year. So the property is owned by us. As mentioned, the density is getting reduced downwards, which is always kind of a good thing, because usually most time developers coming in front of you guys, it's usually always trying to push the envelope for more. We worked pretty extensively with the residences for probably, I don't know, 4 months. Lou's been great, Steve's been great, and we've initially brought forth a plan, just to tell you some background about it. We were looking at maybe possibly doing single family, and then we met with them and said, hey, before we did anything, we said, hey guys, what do you think of this proposal? And we showed them some various plans, and I think this is the best one we came up with. So we wanted their support before we came in front of the board to make sure, this is obviously, it was a big key component. So we're glad, we have their support, and I think we're probably just as much excited as they are to get this project moving forward. To talk about the units a little bit, they're going to be ranch-style condominiums. They'll range between 1,200 to about 1,550 square feet. There'll be a combination of 2 and 3 bedrooms. And again, pending all approvals, we're looking to get started immediately. So hopefully this, pending, based on how things go here the next few months, we can get started before fall, or, during fall before the winter gets in. So I'm here to answer any questions. Just want to come and just say hello and introduce myself. And again, any questions the board may have. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, do we have any comments, questions, anything from any of the commissioners this evening?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Question is originally you were approved for the minimum size of 1,689 square feet. Now you're reducing that to a unit that's a minimum of 1,266 square feet. Why?
The styles of the units, the one thing the board and I discussed, the styles of units have changed. I think this was been almost going on about 15, 16 years now since this was initially developed. We think, we're pretty confident. We just know in the market that the the standards have changed over the years. We feel that the project that was put in beforehand, and maybe one of the board members can maybe attest to this too, is the tastes have changed of consumers and the demographics has changed. So we're looking to cater to a demographic that's not going to look for stairs and is looking more for a first floor style unit. And this is 1,200 square feet or 1,260 square feet all on one floor, where theirs is a 2-story unit. So we feel this is more of today's standards. It's going to fit the profile and the demographics we're looking for, who are a single individual, empty nester, someone who's looking to downsize out of a home into a smaller unit. There's not much of this in the township. I know when Dan and I spoke about this, in other projects too, it was mentioned that, multifamilies is in demand in the township, and it's single family is great. It brings in families and it brings in families and tax basis into the school systems and whatnot. But you also need the multifamily component to cater to a different segment of buyers who are looking for a bigger house. So that's what the primary reason behind it. Yes.
So is your 3-story or your 3-bedroom going to be a 2-story, or is it going to remain a ranch style as well?
Second floor, yeah, correct. Good question. That'll have a second floor to it. So there's a second floor with a small loft. There's an additional bathroom and a bedroom upstairs. It's a flex space. We equip it for a bedroom, but it can be used for a home office. We built this other product before. A lot of people just use it for, if it's a couple downsizing, they have it for, additional kid or, sibling, whatever it may be. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Yes. Commissioner Jar.
I would ask the applicant, has he shared the elevation diagrams with the neighboring HOA?
We have, yes.
Positive reaction?
I can have them speak for it, but I believe so, yes. If you guys want to come up and maybe say anything, but I think, yeah, we worked for about, again, it was probably 3-4 months, guys. We worked together and going through this and showed them all floor plans, elevations, so.
I will make the comment that one of the things I enjoy about being on the Planning Commission is that as part of my responsibilities, I get to drive around the township and look at neighborhoods and see how they appear. Sometimes it's not obvious what we're looking at when we see it in black and white on a computer monitor. But I did drive through the neighborhood yesterday, and I just want to say what a beautiful little neighborhood it is. I thought it was very nice. I saw people sitting out in their porches in their backyards. I think everyone waved at me and smiled. And I thought, wow, this is a really nice area. And I want to make sure that the development that goes in on the back half of the property maintains that neighborhood feel, and that the existing neighbors are on board with it, and they feel that it complements their neighborhood and looks good. And I see a lot of nodding heads right now, so I think the people in attendance agree. So thank you very much for answering the question.
Usually when you have when I go before these meetings, sometimes there's usually a packed auditorium. So the fact that we don't have a great deal of residents kind of shows that we've done our homework in advance. So.
And it underlines the importance of making sure you get it right. There's enough people in that neighborhood that you can definitely talk to all of them and make sure that it's going to be conducive to the neighborhood. So hey, thanks for doing that. I think that's excellent.
Any other questions, comments? I think I'm going to reserve my questions or comments. As we've discussed, there's some additional paperwork, some additional legwork that's going to be coming forward, and I'm going to hold off because that may answer my questions that I would have. I have to kind of agree with Commissioner Jar that it's nice when you see the joining board come out to support the project that you're going forward. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and speaking on it, and then speaking for the support of the project. It helps us get a feel of what's going on when the developer and the existing residents are taking time to go through what's going to happen in their backyard. So thank you again for coming out this evening. Thank you for taking your time to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Anybody from the current board want to speak regarding elevations? Anything else that came up tonight, or?
Through the chair, I should mention that one of our
Yes,
attendees.
my name's Louis
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bedoin. I'm at 13697 Chinkopin, Van Buren Township. I am the current president of the Cobblestone Creek Villas Board. And I have to say that we have dealt with Mr. Sauvé quite extensively on this project. We've reviewed his floor plans, we've reviewed his artist drawings of what the proposed units would look like, and the board voted unanimously to support Mr. Swove on this project.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming out this evening, and thank you for expressing your support for the project. Director Power, you were...
I apologize, my peripheral vision, I did not see who was come up here. So I apologize for that, for the interruption. I just wanted to mention that one of our attendees tonight is Commissioner Budd. She's not able to, participate in the discussion, attending remotely, but just so you know, she's here, and I'm sure she'll be eager to participate when she can. So just wanted to mention she's here as well.
Thank you so much, Director Power. All right, I know we have up on here that we are to take action on this, but I think given the fact that we have additional information, is the board comfortable with tabling this agenda item to a later date? All right, do we have a motion to table the item?
And now, pardon me, Mr. Chair, if I may, are we tabling the special land use review?
I believe it'll be item 1, and then we will go on to item 2, and we'll do a motion on both agenda items to keep it clear for the notes.
Fair enough.
Does that work, Director Power?
Given that that's the case, I would at this time make the motion to table item 1 until such time as Planning Commission and staff can review some of the items that have been recently submitted. I could give you an itemized list if you feel that's required, or if staff feels that we have that list, I could leave it at that.
Yeah, why don't I, through the chair, between this item and the preliminary site plan discussion in item 2, I'll try my best to summarize what I think the planning commission's looking for, and you can let me know either here or afterwards if there's anything else you're looking for from us.
At this time, I'd move that we table item 1.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jar, support by Commissioner Cullen. Any discussion or comments regarding the motion? Seeing none, can we have a roll call on this item, please?
Callie Barr,
Yes.
Brian Cullen,
Yes.
Jar,
Yes.
Brian Kelly.
Yes. Right, and agenda item number 1 is being tabled to a later date to be determined by staff and the commission. That'll bring us up to item number 2 on the agenda, which is Cobblestone Creek Revision Preliminary Plan Review. Director Power, do you have a presentation for us regarding this item, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have much to add at this point. I do have an image on the screen now of the proposed layout of the project, and there's a more extensive report from our planning consultant that I'd ask her to again summarize. There are kind of 2 arms to this project again, the special land use standards that make sure it coheres well with its surroundings. And then the site plan or the preliminary plan is more about the technical details and the making sure the zoning dimensions are adequate and all those setbacks and those kinds of things are correct. So that's going to be the nature of this portion of the review. And following this portion of the review, if Mr. Suave has anything else to add, he can, be welcome to speak. And then if the public has anything else they'd like to add, they can speak. But again, after this, after we go through it as a planning commission, I can mention the list of potential submittals we're looking for, other items that you want us to bring back for further review at a later date. So with that said, I have an image of the proposed plan, an image of the original plan on a different slide on the screen. And as necessary, we can toggle to those images, but otherwise I'll leave this up to Vidya Krishnan to go over her report. I don't have any other staff reports that I was going to report out on tonight. I do have one from the township engineer, but we agreed we'd bring that back later. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Power. To summarize, just like in the case of the special land use, I will summarize the findings of the site plan or the preliminary PRD plan review. In 2004, when the project was approved, it had a total of 104 attached units spread out over 26 buildings. But out of them, only 12 buildings with 44 units was constructed. So the new proposal to build 52 units within 13 buildings reduces the overall density by approximately 8 units. So although the number of buildings is one more, the number of units is actually being dropped by 8. The original plan proposed required a preservation of minimum 30% as permanent open space. That is a part of the PRD requirement. The approved plan has about 40.8% of dedicated open space on the site, and it's developed mostly as an amenity with a pedestrian pathway system within the site itself. So per the amended plan, this area of development is 6.88 acres. 41% or 2.82 acres are being preserved as open space. So it still meets the requirement. With regards to the density bonus, as I mentioned, the ordinance does have density bonus provisions. The applicant is reducing the density based on what was originally approved. So the notes need to be correspondingly corrected on the updated plan. With regard to the PRD plan itself, which would be the site plan, the minimum required setback along an internal private road is 25 feet. Now, 3 of the proposed buildings, which will be on your site plan, buildings 8, 4, and 5, they do not comply with the 25-foot setback requirement. The justification box that is on the plan references only building 8. They do need to add on building 4 and building 5. The 25-foot setback requirement is for any yard. It is not merely for the front yard. It basically says every building needs to be at least 25 feet from an internal private drive. Now, this is a change from the ordinance requirements, and that is why it is a PRD, because the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees have an ability to grant a deviation from the strict provisions of the ordinance if you find that to be reasonable. Now, the minimum floor area requirement for units in the R1A single-family district is 1,800 square feet. At the time the original proposal was approved, most of the units did meet this minimum requirement. There was a deviation granted for very few units to be 1,689 square feet, which is below the 1,800 requirement. The applicant's proposal at this time includes unit sizes with area of 1,633 square feet and 1,266 square feet, which is well below the 1,800 requirement. However, the applicant's residential unit layout is significantly different than the original plan, and the applicant has got reasons for why they propose units this size. From when the plan was adopted in 2004 to now in 2022, we are seeing in the field of planning a desire to not have much bigger footprint homes. Many of my clients are actually considering revisiting their minimum square footage requirements because the previous planning desire to have a home in suburbia with large footprints, 2,000, 3,000 square feet, with a 2-car garage, it's now shrinking. People prefer to spend more times outdoor, using the amenities and the open spaces and not having as much footprint area to maintain. So I believe these unit sizes are designed to meet what the market need and demand is for the applicant to be able to sell and get these units sold immediately. So that is a justification, however, that the applicant will have to present before the Planning Commission for the Planning Commission to be able to grant it. We also need clarification if any other deviations are being sought. These are the only 2 that we could come up with. Stormwater detention will once again be reviewed by the township engineer, possibly Wayne County, or I don't know if Wayne County will keep to the original approval for this area. That's something we will need the township engineer to verify. The layout of the roads or the sidewalks is not being altered. The applicant is providing required sidewalk connections and the 5-foot wide sidewalk along the frontage of all the internal streets, which is an excellent thing to provide connectivity to this whole development. The master deed and bylaws were turned in, I believe, after I did this review letter, and And I believe I read a comment, correct me if I'm wrong, Director Power, it said that no changes are proposed to the PRD agreement at this time. Well, that would not be okay because a PRD agreement basically summarizes the total number of units, the minimum square footages. It basically sets forth the entire design of the proposed development. You cannot amend a PRD and not amend the PRD agreement. The two have to go in tandem. The master deed and bylaws also have to be amended for the simple reason that the number of units are different, so your distribution of the association fee, responsibilities, everything will be assigned accordingly. So all three documents would need revision in order to match up with what is being proposed at this time. The applicant's legal counsel should be able to fix all that. The landscape plan that is being submitted is really extensive and it's going to make the development very attractive, lots of trees, ornamental grasses, foundation plantings. It is going to make the subdivision look really nice. There is a landscape agreement, maintenance agreement on there, which references owner as responsible for maintenance. Now, I'm not sure who this owner is going to be because once the units are sold, is it the HOA? So the entity needs to be clarified. Architecture, the applicant has provided architecture. This is slightly different. These are not two-story units. In some cases, they do have a gable with appearance, but if you look at the visual of the units, they appear to look more like ranch, even though they have upper stories. They do have a second story. It is not a full second story, like stacked one on top of the other type. It does have bedroom and smaller living space above the main floor itself. The architecture is pretty attractive. It provides for a different home style. We did have some minor recommendations with regard to adding gable vents above the garage because it seemed to have an expanse of siding. One of the biggest challenges we faced while reviewing this is side entry garages. When this project was originally reviewed in 2004, I happened to be around at that time too. I remember how important side entry garages were. Now, the proposed buildings, none of the homes have side entry garages. Per the original condominium approval, at least 30% of all units needed to have side entry garages. While the Planning Commission can grant the deviation, I'm a little reluctant to say the applicant can go from 30% to zero and have all front entry garages. So Director Power and myself had suggested a design where the end units, when you have 4 units attached, the middle 2 units can have straight entry garages. The end 2 units can possibly have side entry garages. Yes, it would require a little bit of modification to the floor plan, but it is feasible unless the applicant can demonstrate to us why it is not feasible. Because in order to grant such a deviation, the Planning Commission needs to know why does this project have to be granted a deviation which was not granted originally to the developer who planned out the entire subdivision and the development. There are no trees to be removed, so a woodland removal permit is not required. So at this time, we believe the applicant does have some revisions to make to the site plan. None of them are something that would burden the project or not be able to be fixed. The biggest challenge is the side entry garages as we see it. To accommodate some amount of architectural detail, and the township has always strictly held having all garages front entry is not an attractive look. To go back on that requires some unique architecture, distinct architecture to elevate it. We had a previous sit-down meeting with the applicant a while ago, and at that time also we had suggested end units being side entry garages. I'm not sure why that was not feasible because I didn't see any reasoning for it. So we would hope that's something the applicant can address. Otherwise, this is a project we are happy to support because we think it's time the subdivision got built out and the amenities provided to all the residents who are already there so that they can have a nice subdivision with all the sidewalks and landscaping in place. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Krishnan. Brings us up to Mr. Suave. Did you have anything you would like to add regarding site plan?
Thanks again. Yeah, with respect to some of the revision comments that were made, I guess I'll kind of touch on a couple points that maybe that Vidya touched on, and I'll kind of elaborate on those. One thing is regarding the PRD agreement and modification and splitting up with the HOA. So what we agreed, and I kind of just, the board and I kind of went back and forth with this as far as how this is going to be managed going forward, because right now it was basically one association encompassing, 100 plus units. So we basically, what we did via the agreements is extracted our 52 units out. Actually, it was actually 60, which is now 52. We extracted that from the condominium. So now you're going to have basically two separate associations. And what we agreed from a management standpoint, and how does all that work? So you'll have two separate associations, but you'll have a governing board, basically, where each association will have appointees to that governing board that will basically handle all, common area maintenance, snow plowing, road maintenance, landscaping, things of that sort. The point behind that is that, okay, these existing units are, 15, 18 years old, whatever it may be, and then you have a lot of deferred maintenance that will come along with that, and then you have brand new units that aren't going to need any deferred maintenance for, probably the next decade. So that's what we came to the agreement on that, which I think was pretty well received. With respect to the road, I'm not sure if it was mentioned, we also agreed too that we are taking care of completion of the road and all the maintenance repairs, and this is something that the board was pretty excited about. So we're contributing to, I think that was something the existing developer was supposed to take care of, that we're now going to be taking on the financial responsibility for that and the maintenance of that going forward. Respect to the side entry garages, that is a good point. I think the discussion we had with our pre-application meeting, based on these units, the design of them, and I'm not sure if Dan, did you have elevations you could pull up of the project? I don't know if, did we send you those?
I will pull them up maybe right after we have you speak to them, or I could see if they.
Okay. I don't want to put you on, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot,
Okay,
but it
I'll
might help
show
my
'em,
point,
yeah.
so. But the units are all basically single load garages, so they're single car garages for each of them. And the challenge is going to be if we go ahead to the side entry garages and we enhance some of the architectural features to the units. We're adding, there's bays on them. We added, I think, we were like at a 10, 12 roof pitch, which gives you just a higher roof pitch. So it's going to make the units look a lot more, I guess you could say, grand, or have a better elevation from the street view. The challenge with the side entry garage is because they're single garages, single car garages, to go ahead and put these at the end of the units is going to reconfigure not only the site plan, but also the plans of the building. So I'm not opposed to it, but it's going to be really challenging given the proposed product they were putting here. So without doing a major altercation to our plan, which we're not, we'll be basically starting from scratch. And I think looking from an engineering standpoint, if we do the side entry garages, just imagine if you look at, like, for example, look at this unit. The way these garages are, you would have, this unit actually would, for a two-car garage, you actually need a two-car side entry garage. I think the garages right now, as they stand, are like 12 by 20. So to go ahead and expand those, you're going to need to add an additional probably 8 to 10 feet in it. So now, if you can imagine, these units are going to get enlarged by, 10 feet on each side or so, which now is going to put us over the setback lines. So now, in order to do that, we're going to have to start reducing a number of units in there, which would make the project feasible. So that was the big, the big issue that we had with doing the side entry garages. I would like to, if there's any recommendations that the board may have, or Vidya may have, or even, Dan's office, if there's anything we can add to any architectural elements, I'd be more open to doing that. If there's a way we can kind of maybe stagger the units, if the concern is that you're just going to have a row of units, I'd be more open to doing something like that versus side entry, which, again, for us, that'll be basically starting from the drawing board, so. And I think stormwater, I know that was a question that was brought up. I think we provided some calculations to Dan's office. I think there shouldn't be any altercations to the stormwater. We are going to probably, I'm not sure this is going to my knowledge, from what our underground contractor's telling us, who's more of the expert in this, and our engineers, is that this shouldn't have to go in front of Wayne County because it is an existing development, it's grandfathered in, and we're not adding to the project. We're actually reducing the density by, roughly 8 to 10%. So again, based on that, I'm welcome any other further questions that the board has again.
Chairman Kelly?
Yes, Ms. Krishnan.
Yeah, just based on what Mr. Suave said, a suggestion, if that is something the Planning Commission would like to entertain with regard to the side entry garages, maybe a garage door that is textured, not just a flat sheet metal. I have seen some newer garage doors that actually look like they are wood panels, like the windows. They look architecturally very attractive. They are not a conventional garage door that is just flat, smooth sheet metal panels. So maybe an architecturally detailed garage door. And another consideration is the reluctance we have with straight entry garages is the fact that the driveways are all right next to each other. It just looks like a lot of concrete. Maybe to provide either textured, have concrete, but have it textured or stained a different color. You know, some of the concrete can be stained to sort of brick color. Maybe the middle ones can be, so it doesn't look overwhelming like forced cement concrete driveways right next to each other. These are some ideas that could possibly make it look more upscale without, you know, changing the floor plan or the design that would affect or have to go back to the drawing board altogether. That's just a couple of thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Krishnan.
Just I guess the follow-up question to you, Vidya, respect to the different, I mean, I think it's a great idea with the garage doors. Are you looking for like every one, or would it be accented on each side of it? Just so those kind of like basically kind of accentuate the units on each side of, you know, each side of the building in lieu of the garage doors. And then the concrete, I think we could probably provide some options with that, either like a different type of finish, a swirl finish, or doing some type of pattern finish up, like a border finish around the driveway or something, I think would be good.
I saw a nod, so through the chair.
I think I saw a nod as well.
Okay, I saw a nod of general concurrence. Is that correct, Ms. Krishnan? We're working towards something here, but I guess through the chair, if I could just add a kind of a procedural note. So one thing to be aware of, the Planning Commission did receive all the elevations in their packet, so it's not clear with what's on the screen, but they did get that. So what I might suggest is, because there's, I think, a lot of progress that we could make based on the conversation we're having with a couple of our commissioners being absent tonight, and now we're getting into some of the details of the site plan. I would suggest we kind of put that all together as one of the items we'll tackle with our analysis of the requested modifications when we come back for the next discussion or the next action with the Planning Commission for preliminary plan review. Sounds like there's a lot of good ideas out there, but we could do a deeper analysis with our next round of review with that and work some of those things out.
Sounds great, Director Power, thank you. Do you have any questions, comments from any of the commissioners? Okay. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this agenda item?
I have one more question, I guess, to the board. When would the next meeting be on this, to go ahead with? If we're gonna obviously start making some modifications to this, you know, we maybe verify a submittal date when we would have to submit by in order to get on agenda for either this month or early July, or?
So through the chair, can I try that? So after tonight, we're gonna have some really clear instructions on what to do next. So I think one of the things we'll do is hear from any of the members of the public again. But then I'll bundle up all the things that we need to address. So we'll hit the ground running and set up some further discussion with you to go over what the submittal requirements are, and then we'll review them. We review them, give our planner, and there probably won't be many engineering revisions at that point, but the planner and the engineer some time to review, and then they'll make a recommendation to come back. Now, there won't be another hearing formally on this after tonight, though. This will be something the public will be aware of. There isn't an advance noticing requirement, so we'll come back with a new set of recommendations after we have another chance for review. And the Planning Commission meets every second and fourth Wednesday. They love doing it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get things back on a predictable schedule as soon as we
Okay.
pick up on where we left off after tonight.
All right, very good. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, Louis Doyne again. On some of the issues I've been hearing about, the aesthetics of garage doors and whatever, I have some comments to make. On the existing 44 units that we have built, a number of those units were forced by the Planning Commission at the time to have shared driveways. Shared driveways with single-car units have made a nightmare on the roadways for parking. The people don't have a place to park. Almost every family is a two-car family nowadays, not a single-car family. If we go to the plan that Remo has suggested, each unit will have a separate driveway, not shared driveways. That will alleviate a lot of the parking issues that we currently face in the front half of the development. The those condominium units always stress for uniformity. You don't want 20 or 30 different styles garage doors. You want everything to be uniform. So you don't have people pointing fingers, well, I like theirs better than mine, whatever, if they're all uniform. We've pressed that and we've maintained that, and it's encoded in our bylaws to have uniformity of this issue. The idea of shared driveways, I think whoever came up with that idea didn't ever live under that type of condition because it is a nightmare. If you got two cars, you're parked in the garage, you want to get out to go to work, and your wife's in back of you, she's got to get up, get out and move her car so you can get out. It doesn't work. So the site plan that's been put forward is a workable site plan. And it's more important to have a workable site plan that is uniform, pleasing to the eye, than it is to have a lot of aesthetics going into what type of garage door you're gonna have. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much. So your position then would be that you want to ensure that each unit is as identical as possible. You don't want modifications on driveways versus swirls versus textures, is that? Correct. And that adding in different textures into.
That's correct. His current position is each unit has a separate driveway. Each unit would be able to park two cars between their garage and their driveway. And if you look at the front of it, where you've got a lot of shared driveways, where you've got, in most cases, 4 units trying to share one driveway. And I tell you, it doesn't work. Consequently, we have a roadway that's jammed on both sides of the street with parked cars. If you were there yesterday, you probably saw that.
Maybe that's why you were smiling and looking at me. Oh no, another car. Yeah, I did see that, and I did actually have a shared driveway. I lived in a house with a shared driveway for 20 years, and I do appreciate the challenges. But thanks very much for bringing that up to us. There are, in these design reviews, there are ordinances and standards that we have flexibility on as a planning commission, and there are others that our ordinances don't allow us flexibility on. One of the reasons that I moved to table the previous item is some of the information we need to see more detail on is that what can we do under our PRD rules, what can't we do under our PRD rules. We want to make sure that we get it right for you. Thanks.
Thank you again. Have anybody else from the audience that would like to speak to this agenda item? Director Power, do we have anybody on Zoom that wants to speak? I don't believe I asked on the last one.
No, we do not.
All right, so we ready to take action, or are we looking at tabling this agenda item since we have a lot of additional information? Is that kind of the general consensus?
Make a comment. I would move to table this at this time. I'd be willing to entertain that motion as well.
That would be great.
Through the chair, but could I
Yes.
summarize? I think what I'd like to do is I said some more kind of specific items that we were focusing on needing to be addressed earlier. I'd like to kind of make them a little bit broader, but so that we know kind of what we're looking for. But they cover a lot of ground. So if I could list some conditions, I'll run them by you and we could see if we agree. Or did you have some?
Mr. Chair, how about I read a motion in and then give Director Power a chance to amend?
That sounds good.
Cool. So at this time, I'd move to table new business agenda item 2 until Staff and Planning Commission review of the following items are complete. That would be terms and amendments to the original PRD agreement document, the limits on creating a new phase before the public improvements of the previous phase are complete, such as wear pavement on the course of the road, the bonding requirements for the project, the eligibility for the new phase to use the overarching PRD agreement, that the requested modifications are still in line with the full PRD agreement, that the new condominium documents, including the master deed, bylaws, and previous master deed, need to be reviewed in the context of the final PRD agreement. We need to consider the feasibility of side garages in terms of the architectural requirements of the PRD. I would also note the concerns in the McKenna letter of May 11th in the items required for research, as well as Director Power would like to list anything that I've forgotten, I would be open to amending.
Thank you. Director Bauer?
I think that was a really good overview. There were just some other comments linking the request to some things in our condominium ordinance in the letter from me dated, from Director Power, dated June 3rd, and then the letter from the township engineer, I believe also dated June 3rd. Just a general comment that as many of those items as feasible to address prior to the next preliminary plan review should be addressed.
I would also, in addition, accept that amendment and say that I would hope that we would move on this as quickly as possible, direct staff to expedite, please.
Support for Commissioner Jar's motion.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jar, support by Commissioner Barr. Do you have any comments or discussion regarding the pending motion? Seeing as we have none, have a roll call, please.
Brian Cullen,
Yes.
Callie Barr,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Brian Kelly.
And the motion to table passes. Great. Well, thank you everyone for attending this evening, and thank you, Mr. Suave, for coming in and filling us in on your project. Look forward to seeing everybody back at a hearing hopefully soon. Very interesting project. I can't wait to see some of this stuff going forward. So, thank you. I think we have, all right, that will bring us up to agenda item number 3 on our items for tonight. It's the extension request for case number 20-005, preliminary site plan request for mobile gas station redevelopment and drive-through. I believe we have a presentation by you, Director Power.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. As briefly as possible, I'll just summarize that NC Designers, on behalf of owner IS Real Estate LLC, had brought forth a preliminary site plan and a special land use request for demolition of the existing gasoline station building to reconstruct it and build new gas station canopies along with a drive-through. The preliminary site plan approval was granted on May 12th along with the special land use. And by that time, the special land use had also been recommended for approval by the township board. The project has not taken off the ground yet. This is the site roughly just over 1 acre, located at 11250 Haggerty Road at the northwest corner of the intersection of the I-94 North Service Drive and Haggerty Road. This would be the mobile gas station site. They have not moved forward, and we have a request from the owner or a representative of the owner requesting an extension to that approval. Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues here was the unfortunate passing of principal engineer on the project, and there were also some delays due to the backup of work at the county level. So certainly understandable reasons for delay in this project. I know the Planning Commission, for good reason, wants to see this project move forward, but given the circumstances, staff supports the extension of the preliminary site plan approval. So I'd ask that you make a motion to accept that extension so that they can move on for at least up to 1 more year unless they ask for another extension.
Thank you so much, Director Power. It's my understanding we don't have anybody here representing the applicant this evening.
I've been in coordination with the owner, but did not even advise to him that he needed to attend tonight. I can certainly bring him back, though, if you'd like me to.
Okay, thank you so much, Director Power. Anybody from the commission have comments or questions regarding this agenda item? Commissioner Jar.
Director Power, how long of an extension are they seeking?
This would be, it's kind of written as the the basic 1-year extension. They've indicated that they're picking up where they left off, and they're trying to move forward again with possibly some adjustments to the plans. Now, if there's a significant adjustment, it may go back to the preliminary site plan stage, but they've indicated they want to move forward soon. So we hope it would not take another year, but it would be for up to a year.
The request require an extension of a special use?
The special land use is tied to the site plan, so I do not believe it would.
Do you know if the applicant is planning on beginning the construction soon, or when they have a plan to begin?
They would like to begin soon. I do not know when they would plan to begin.
Sorry. I know you're not. I know you're not the applicant, Director Power. I'm sorry.
It's a good thing that would have been good to address, but I can certainly reach out and see if there's more information available on the timing at this point.
I'm good.
Any other questions, comments from any of the commissioners? Do you have any questions or comments from the audience? Director Power, do we have anybody on Zoom regarding this agenda item?
We do not.
Is the board ready to take action? So, need a motion from one of the members.
I'll move to grant an extension for the preliminary site plan approval given in May 2021 for up to 1 year for the mobile gas station redevelopment and drive-through located at 11250 Haggerty Road.
Got a motion by Commissioner Barr. Support by Commissioner Jar. Do you have any comments, questions regarding this agenda item? Seeing as none, have a roll call, please.
Brian Cullen,
Yes.
Callie Barr,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Brian Cullen.
Yes. And the motion for the extension is approved. That brings us up to item number 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the discussion regarding gasoline filling and gasoline service station zoning ordinance text amendment. The presentation by Director Power again, and I believe Ms. Krishnan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My comments will be brief. There was some discussion about both the need for gasoline stations to be designated as special land uses in Van Buren Township and not as permitted uses by right, and to look at the applicability of electric vehicle charging stations. So the last discussion on this was in March, and the township's planning consultant has brought back some recommended language based on the feedback that we received, and I'm sorry, the last meeting was in April 27th. So based on the feedback we received on April 27th and a proposed set of ordinance changes for your consideration. Some of these changes are in summary with respect to removing the permitted use designation from some of the sections of the zoning ordinance. But in addition to those summaries, you see an entirely new section 5.144 for specific standards for gasoline or automobile filling stations that would be tied to any gasoline or automobile filling station special land use. So without going into any of the details, I'd like to defer the details to Ms. Krishnan, if you could speak to the proposed amendment and some of the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Power. Thank you, members of the commission. The Planning Commission has seen this ordinance multiple times before. The only change from the time it appeared before you in April is I removed the EV language completely from this ordinance. And the Planning Commission's concerns regarding EV vehicles was very well placed. Some of the comments that came at that meeting was, how about handicap accessibility with the EV space? What if the EV space is right in front of the convenience store and somebody remains parked there for 45 minutes? What do you do then? So after further research, after the last meeting, I did further research and I realized that EV vehicles is an ever evolving field. It's actually growing so much that merely including it as a footnote in a zoning ordinance is not the right way to go about it. We did some research. I found actually recommended ordinance language for how EV vehicles should be handled, how EV stations or how entire stations which have multiple EV spots need to be regulated, or how the setup works. So we will be bringing that as a separate ordinance to you later. It is not as urgent as the current gasoline filling station ordinances. I think the fact that we have gas stations allowed as a principal permitted use in most of our districts is very, very surprising. And this is something we need to fix. We also don't have any standards for them. Basically, we rely on the good nature of applicants to design a very nice building. But the only reason the Planning Commission has been able to have some say in these gas stations so far is most of them invariably come with a drive-through restaurant attached, and the drive-through coffee shop or restaurant happens to be a special land use. So you are able to review the whole site under that umbrella. But if somebody comes up with just a gas station with a convenience store, you really don't have much leeway for, an improved site design or concerns. So at this time, the ordinance that is before you is very clear. It's basically moving gasoline stations from the C1, C2, and the FS, Freeway Service District, from permitted uses into the special land use category. And also, we are adopting a new section 5.144, which basically sets standards for this: driveway separation, circulation, everything designed to actually have a better laid out site. So it would be my request to the Planning Commission at this time, if you are comfortable with it. I do think we had a public hearing on it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Director Power. If not, we set it for a public hearing. If we have had a public hearing, my recommendation would be to send this on to the Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Krishnan. Do you have anything you would like to go over, Director Power?
Just to clarify, we have not had the public hearing yet, so we are still in the drafting process, but I think we are ready to schedule that pending some review of some additional review of the language and any changes you'd like us to consider as we go into that public hearing stage.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from commissioners?
I think I agree with Director Power. I think minus the EV language, thank you very much, Ms. Krishnan, for taking care of that, that it is ready for the public hearing, and we should move ahead with scheduling it. I'll also add that I read through the example language for EV charging stations. Yeah, that's very interesting, and I think we do need to also consider adding some ordinance around, some accessory ordinances around electric vehicles. Doesn't have to happen, with this gas station. Should be separate from the gas station amendments. I'm for sending it to public hearing.
Any other comments and questions? No? Everybody ready for a public hearing on this? I think I found one small typographical issue that I mentioned to you earlier, Director Power, but I think, do you want us to make a formal motion, or?
You certainly can, and we could schedule, we could get the wheels in motion to set a hearing for the next available slot. That's probably going to end up being first or second meeting in July or the first meeting in August at this point, so.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. We get a motion for,
I move to direct staff to schedule a public hearing for the gas station zoning ordinance text amendment in item 4.
thank you.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jar, support by Commissioner Cullen. Have any comments or discussion on the motion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Callie Barr,
Yes.
Brian Cullen,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes?
Brian Kelly.
And motion passes. It'll bring us up to item number 5 on our agenda, Sumter Road Mixed-Use Zoning District and Sumter Road Overlay District text amendments. Director Power, I believe we have presentation by you on this agenda item as well.
Yes, my presentation will be very brief tonight on this item. So what I'd like to do is just refer to the discussion that we had on May 25th. There was some good discussion on a number of different points brought up at the meeting and prior to the meeting by commissioners and members of the public that led to some proposed changes in the language. So there was a full revised version of the zoning ordinance amendments, including now the Sumter Road Overlay District section, which was not included previously, and some reformatted sections of the other parts of the zoning ordinance that tied to these changes. So it was an attempt at the kind of the full refined version of the draft where it stands right now. So there's nothing new since May 27th when that was sent out to the Planning Commission. I'd encourage you to continue reviewing it, and perhaps if you'd like, at the next available slot where we can go through a more comprehensive overview of both that and the master plan kind of in its updated form, then that might be a good time to recommend the hearing for both. If there's anything you want to have as kind of an open discussion or conversation about the ordinance amendments at this time, I'd welcome that. And if Ms. Christian has anything to add to that, I'd welcome her comments actually first. So I see her shaking her head. Nothing from Ms. Christian. Okay.
Thank you so much, Director Bauer. Since we were here last time, did we get any additional feedback from any members of the public?
There was just one member of the public, the resident who was here on the 25th, Ms. Kazera, on the corner of Cheney and Sumter Road. And she was continuing to seek some clarification on some of the language. So I will be providing her some additional zoning ordinance sections that are referenced with these amendments to provide some additional clarity. And the comments were consistent with what were shared as concerns at that meeting. But if there's any other written correspondence from her, I'll be sure to send that to you. But that was the only interaction I've had on these amendments since our last meeting.
Thank you, Director Power. Do we have any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? No? It's, I think it's looking really good. It's starting to come together. It's a lot to read, but I'm looking forward to seeing we start getting ready for final reviews. Is there a way, as we're moving forward, that we have a smaller docket or a smaller items, or maybe kind of pre-planned it ahead of time of saying this is when we're looking for someplace in the next month and a half or 2 months? I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be good to spend some, to have some bandwidth we can spend on just that, the ordinance amendments and the plan, certainly. We'll try to do that. There's a number of, there are always a number of development projects kind of hanging in the ether that it's always kind of a moving target if they're ready to come back. So the agenda for June 22nd, for example, looks like it will have some significant development discussion on it, but if it does not, then we'll make the space for that then to do a more of the informal overview, and then maybe at that point we can set the hearing. Otherwise, we'll wait for a more appropriate date.
Great. Thank you so much, Director Power. Yes.
Director Power, are the changes that you're incorporating into the document being posted regularly online for review, or are you batching them and going to release for review later?
Kind of batching and going for release later. So
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of at moments when they're posted to the packets here, and otherwise everything that's came up on the 25th, through the comments at that meeting, anybody who was interested in that meeting would have heard them, and then that's all we've done since then. So we haven't posted anything new. But yeah, it is more, we'll take feedback for a while and then batch it and then update the whole document and repost it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I don't believe we need a motion or anything on that item at this point. We'll just carry on with our reviews. So thank you so much, Director Power. Thank you so much, Ms. Krishnan. I believe that brings us up to general discussion. Have anything for general discussion this evening?
I see a sheet on my table about webinar series.
Yeah, good point, Commissioner Jar. There is a handout here of some many of the trainings are still electronic, and some of them you'll see maybe we didn't include any past dates on there, but there's a series of webinar trainings you can sign up for through the Michigan State Land Use Extension, as well as through the Michigan Association of Planning. And some of them are new, some of them are the basic toolkit type sessions that you've probably all been part of, but I do encourage you to take a fresh look at these. We're a little behind on advising you on some trainings this year, so please take a look, let us know what you're interested in. We'd be more than happy to sign you up for any of these.
Director Power, if I could, Mr. Chair. Could you summarize what our training requirements are again, please? I know we have requirements in order to serve on the board.
It would be two training sessions per year for the Planning Commission and 4 hours of training per year for the BZA.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Power, have we received anything? Because I know we have the ability to do the citizen planner as well as the master planner certification. If you could circulate that around to everybody on the board, that would be wonderful.
Yes, I will. There was a, yeah, we will circulate that, especially to our newer members. I'm not sure, Commissioner Barr or Commissioner Cullen, if you've been able to do those or we've gotten you the information for those, but we will make sure you have that.
It's a very good course, the Citizen Planner course, even the online one's very enlightening. I'd recommend it highly.
They go through full training on all the stuff that we touch here, and then you can do the master planner, but when you get the certification, it kind of falls in line with what our training requirements are, so you get to keep your certification for the planning, plus then it covers our requirements for the board.
No, okay.
Great. Any other items for general discussion? All right, seeing as none, need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Support?
We have a motion by Commissioner Barr, support by Commissioner Cullen. Any discussion or comments on the motion? Seeing as none, all in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christian. Hope you feel better.
Yes.
I hope so too. I'm tired of sneezing.
Treasurer Bud, if you can hear us, stay well. We see you there. Stay on the recovery path. We'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks, everybody.
Good night, Sherry.
Good night.
So,
I feel like I need a lectern.
since we're off the record now, when the jet went over the building a couple times, it started throwing me off where we were on the agenda item, and I went, oh yeah, that's right, they're doing the air show.
It's the Canadian demonstrator jets coming out.
Yeah, the air show keeps going over. Then it would go over, and I'm going, all right, is that a jet or is that the air conditioner?
I thought it was the air conditioning kicking on.
Air conditioning from down there, but when it kicks on up here, it's deafening. It's, yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Take care.